Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Welcome back.
MisFitNation. MisFitNation.
We are a show founded by veterans and hosted by veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on, share some of your tips with the audience to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. Reach out, we will get you on. If you are feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle, or are embarrassed to share that with them, please dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make it a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. That's @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell. This will keep you up to date with all of our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Electrocast Media and About Face Radio. This will keep you tuned into us and learn more about our great guests.
Oh man, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some of your Sunday night to hang out with us live on About Face Radio, simulcast on Full Moon Radio, and all over the internet. We hope you had a fun and safe St. Patrick's Day weekend, enjoyed friends and family, and a recharge for the upcoming week. I know most of you are probably watching the NCAA tournament or XFL or NASCAR or whatever's on right now, but thank you for taking a little bit of your time to hang out with me and my great guest tonight. Speaking of which, our next guest is a motivational consultant, international speaker, and author. He has empowered people globally with his inspirational guidance and tips for self-development. He provides his audience with the tools needed to achieve personal success, utilize willpower and determination, and develop strategies that will allow people of all ages to achieve personal and professional excellence. So without further ado, let's welcome to the Misfit Nation, Ahmard Vital. Welcome, Ahmard.
Thank you for having me on, man.
Oh, it's great to have you. Once I seen your name pop up and your story, I didn't know if you'd have enough time with all the things you'd have going on to actually come on the show, but I'm glad you were able to squeak a little bit of time in there to come hang out with the Misfit Nation tonight.
Oh, man, I was looking forward to it. I actually just got home within the hours. I teach classes on Sunday morning to the teens at my church, so we got done with Sunday school for the 11 o'clock and the 2 o'clock Spanish service, and I was like, hey, guys, I got to get home. I got a media hit to do, and I was excited to be on with you, man, and I'm pretty fired up to be on with you guys.
Awesome. You know, I just gave basically a 2-sentence blurb about you there. If you want to go a little more in depth about you for the audience, let them know a little bit about where you came from and how you decided this is the path I want to go on.
You know, Rich, and again, thank you for having me on. You know, when you talk about the path, man, I wish I could tell you that the path was straight. It's been all over the place. But at the core, man, I'm basically a writer from a small town in Texas called New Caney. You know, I'm a guy who's always had a pen and pad in his hand, and always, you know, writing has always been my foundation. You know, obviously jumped into speaking and mental performance coaching and, consulting and writing curriculum for nonprofits. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just a guy who likes to put his thoughts on the pad. I feel like that's my greatest power. My superpower God gave me is going to be a pen and pad in my hand. And so obviously I've authored 3 books, but at the core of everything I do is I'm a writer. And obviously there's a long road of how I got to where I am now. But at the core, I'm a writer from a small town in Texas.
In a small town, many of the listeners should know from the movie Varsity Blues, I'm guessing, right? New Canaan, Texas. It's where the school was actually set, right?
So obviously, Varsity Blues was fictional, and it was a town called West Canaan.
West Canaan, yeah.
New Caney. It's north of Houston. Obviously, we've been known famous. Robert Crippen is an old school astronaut, and on a more new scale, a quarterback I play ball with, who some of your your audience may know, is Adam Dunn. Was my quarterback for 2 years. For those of you baseball fans out there, or even University of Texas fans, because he did go to Texas first as a quarterback, and that was right around the time when Texas recruited Chris Sims, and that went on to go ahead and play professional baseball, starting off with the Cincinnati Reds, playing with Ken Griffey Jr. So those are probably the 2 most famous people from the great metroplex of New Canaan. Hopefully I'll make the list before it's time to get out of here. And I say that I'm definitely that's definitely not my aim, but I definitely do want to represent my city pretty well.
And I think you're doing a great job. Just with the little things you're doing. You said you're a writer by trade, but you're also a teen mentor, and I think that's something we need in every small community around the country. And every one of those small communities need to grow bigger as we get those teens to understand that they can be a lot better than they think they can, and get them to be motivated to be the leaders of tomorrow.
Absolutely. And obviously I've chosen to lean in on this a lot because, society has not put our teens, and really just the country at large, in the best optimal position to be able to do things, especially when it comes to the children. And we don't have to go down the path of all the things that are going on that are not advantageous to our children. Whether you're talking about the breaking apart of the families, whether it's the selling them on the idea that, we need to flip the roles between boys and girls and men and women. All of those things, and, just the total education system as a whole right now is just not been so well for the development of our youngsters, and, telling guys that, you need to kind of scale things back, telling ladies, there's liberation in, treating your body a certain type of way. Those are things that I really like to stand on pretty strong, because roles are meant to be fulfilled. I know they've been trying to tell us, like there's no difference between the 2 of us, but it's like, have you been alive more than 10 minutes to know that there is difference between males and females? And the differences between us is what makes us awesome and come together as a functioning society. So when they tell my guys one thing and they tell the young ladies another thing, I'm the one who looks them in the eye and says, no, this is the way societies have run and the way societies function better. Guys are called to do this. Ladies are typically called to do this. I'm not saying that you can't step into the lanes of other things, but your biological programming and what you are called to do is pretty set for the most part. You can play around with the 10 or 15%, but for the most part, men do certain things and ladies do certain things. And you know what? We've been getting by pretty well with doing it that way for quite some time. And I think we need to get back to a lot of the traditional ways of doing things.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I think that's one thing that, hopefully in our generation, we can fix it, or at least before the next generation gets wasted by all this fighting amongst trying to figure out what's what, who's who in the zoo, and trying to do that thing. If we can come back to reality and understand, like you just said, each one of us is made to do a certain thing. Yes, we can cross over every once in a while, but we're made differently, and there's a reason we are.
And our differences are beautiful,
yes.
Right? Like, I mean, people are just like, do you encourage guys to engage in violence? Kind of, yeah. I want guys to challenge each other because that's what we're made to do. Like, we've been doing this. I mean, when you see a young kid and at 2 years old, he's aggressive and doing things, like nobody taught him to be aggressive. That's just kind of his nature, It's like we don't have to like look too far to figure this out. I remember around the time when kind of the whole gender roles were switching and things of that nature. I was at a youth camp as one of the leaders with one of my team groups, and there was a period of time where they would get like 2 hours every day to just do what they wanted. And I used to just sit back and, I'm chaperoning certain areas or whatever. And I remember no matter what year it was, the same things would apply. They give kids free time to go do whatever they want. My guys are playing tag on a college campus, running each other. The other one is flipping off a 9-foot wall to do backflips. Then another one is climbing the tree. And all my girls were just sitting over there doing makeup, playing with each other's hair, just doing very low impact things and just enjoying just chilling with one another, where the guys are literally trying to challenge us. It's like, aren't you all tired?
Ever?
But no, that's just the nature of guys wanting to compete. And like shocker, we went to war back in the day. Like, and all of these different things. We went out and, tended to the land. Shocker. These different things, these different roles. And it's like biology always wins. And we're going to kind of come to that point here pretty soon where it's just like, you can try to socially figure things out. But at the end of the day, man, our biology is going to win. And I just want my teens and young adults to just lean in on that. It's no need to try to, figure something else out. And I mean, I understand why they're doing it. It's economical, it's societal. There's a whole lot of different things. And we may get into that, we may not. But it's just like, come on, man. Eventually, truth always wins out.
Definitely. And you hit the nail on the head. Little boys, if you talk to parents of boys and parents of daughters, who's taking more trips to the emergency room? It's the parents of the boys. They're taking more trips to the emergency room because them boys will do, like you said, flipping off a 9-foot wall, or I bet I can do this better than you. And next thing you know, one's broken a leg or breaking an arm, because that's what boys do. They challenge each other until one of them has to get in the hospital, and mom and dad are saying, dang it, not again. This is my week off. Come on. And this is what happens. So it's written on the wall. I grew up with 2 brothers, and we fought like cats and dogs all the time just because it was what we did. And we would fight for our sister any day of the week, but that's just what we do.
You're right. I remember coming home from college one time. I'm 11 and 13 years older than my brothers, and I'm pulling in. It's summer, it's Christmas. I don't know what it was, but my brother and their friend were racing each other on the roof, and I was like, I was sitting there like baffled, like, what are we doing? But Rich, it's interesting. A lot of people have asked me this question many a times, and it's just like, why do you like guys have to become? We're not finished products, and nobody is, but guys are built through struggle, through trial. We were joking about that today. It's like every dude is taking his bike and went through that ditch thinking it wasn't as deep as it was supposed to be, and it ended up it is. And then you have like that big crash, and your face is planted in the bottom of a ditch where it's Lord knows what is in there. But right. It's part of that. Getting stung by ants, bees, a snake. Every guy's probably rolled his ankle a couple times, blown a knee out, dislocated his shoulder, fell out of a tree, rolled off of a roof, decided to try to build his own ramp for his bike, and it failed miserably. Like, we've all tried experiments where we ended up like, hey, maybe that wasn't a good idea. But we didn't find it out until your buddy's like, got a gash on the side of his head. It's like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that again. And you know what's crazy? The next time we'll try to do it better and do it again, and maybe something better will happen, but maybe it won't. But we as men are built by those experiences. Like, you can't, that's part of your development. Like, you can think that there's other ways to do it. And if there is, I don't know one. Like you said, every young man has been in the ER. Every young man has been in a boot, a sling, the ACE bandage, icing up something, the ice pack, the emergency room, the IV. Like, we've let's just say our parents are like, they look over at us and say, you're about 300 grand in on doctor bills. You're welcome. Like every guy's probably averaging, at least 100 grand in hospital bills, probably by the time they're 17 years old. but but it's part of it. And there's nothing we can do to change that. And nor should we want to change that, because men need to be strong. Men need to be able to compete. Men need to be able to defend those in his life whom he loves. Obviously, the baseline is, we provide and protect for women and children. That's what we are called to do, right? And it's like that role does not need to be diminished nor taken away, right? That's part of what we're supposed to defend. That's why most of our soldiers, shockingly, are men. And I know they're trying to, let's even it out. Like, but do you all really want to? Do you really want to do that? I know they try to, add more demographics to different things, and that's fine. But I think in the end, if people are given a choice, guys are always going to choose whatever's most dangerous and what pays better. That's always been the case. That's why, commercial fishermen working at any of the plants and those heat vacs, guys working under the street laying tar in July in Texas.
I was saying Houston, yeah.
Yeah. I've always said the worst heat maybe in the world is Central Texas in July, right? And if you're on the roof, if you're a roofer in Central Texas, good luck. You're cooked every day. So, and I always say, like, hey, I'm all for, I have a mother, I have a sister, I have nieces or whatever, and I want them to do what they want to do. But none of them want to do any parts of what most of my guys I coach want to do. Like, none of them want to be on a roof. None of them want to lay tar. None of them want to go out fishing. None of them want to wash windows on the top of a skyscraper. None of them want any parts of that. They have the opportunity to, and if they want to do it, go for it. But most of the times when left to your own choices, most of the times we fall back into the roles of what we want to do. And that's just the truth of the matter.
Definitely. My brother chimed in here. He said that we did each and every one of those things to each other. Each and every one of those things to each other. And he hit me in the face with a skateboard one time, rolled it down a ramp, hit me right underneath my eye. That's something we still laugh about now. I think he might have been 12, I was 11, or 10 and 11. And I was just walking, and he rolled it down and looked and whacked right in the eye. I had to go into the house. And the first thing my mother said was, "Take your shirt off, you're getting blood on it." That's the only thing she was worried about, not the eye that could have been hurt real bad, and get some ice on that. I don't want to clean that shirt. That's things, and we laugh about it now that we're old men now. We can do that. We can laugh, and that we made it through those young days. But that's just one instance of things we did.
Well, moms used to just let us beat each other up. Remember, as long as you're back before the street lamps was out in the country, it was just before they can look up the street and still be able to see you. That was sort of our rule of thumb. Like, I need to be able to see you from the porch coming back, because in the country we don't have no street lamps. You just need to know where you're going, and figure it out. Like, there might be one at the end of the street, but like in between, you have to find the driveway on your own. So your bike you might miss sometimes, and tear your poor little bike up, and then you got to go get it fixed and buy a new tube, and then your parents will take it out of whatever other monies you were supposed to get. So you maybe couldn't go to Burger King and get that Whopper now because we got to go buy you a new tube for your bike. Because we had, our parents used to make us have cost, like it costs to feed you. So therefore, if some of your luxuries you mishandle, then we'll have to make sure and take care of that for you, and get that taken care of for you. So I'm glad your brother weighed in, and I'm glad we weren't the only family out there, torturing one another for giggles, broken jaws and snapped fingers, dislocated shoulders. I mean, the list goes on. I bet some of your people in there is just like, yeah, let's just list all the broken bones from young men in your community alone. And I bet we have the whole skeletal system there probably present.
You can draw a little picture of that little doctor where you zapped on there and see what parts are still there alive and still not, to see which part you didn't break during it as a child. That'd probably be easier. So,
yeah, no doubt.
So, you've done a lot so far, and author, a writer by trade, obviously a motivator. What drives you each day to provide the services you offer? What's your drive?
One of the it's multiple things, but I want to leave the world a little bit better than I came into it with, and I pray and strive to become the man I needed when I was 17 years old. that's a driving factor for me. So, I mean, I have a morning ritual where, I pray, I give thanks, I read the word or whatever. And it's like, I ask during my prayer time, like, create in me what I need to become for the young man whom you are going to send into my life to mentor, to pour into. Like, whatever I need to become to be able to pour into him, that's what I need to be. And so that's a major driving factor for me. And man, I came up with, I was raised by two different men, my biological father and the father whose name I embody. And they were just both no excuse kind of men. And so I'm real big on being anti-entitlement. Like, I'm a big delayed gratification kind of guy. I don't believe in something for nothing. I believe you almost the old school, you eat what you kill. A hunter-gatherer type of mindset. And so I really want to teach definitely young fellas, like, hey man, you got to go out there and earn. Like, no one's coming to save you. There's no social safety net for you. No one is coming to save you. So I want you to go out there. I want to be able to encourage young men and show them a way to go out and earn for themselves, right? Like, I even have young men who come up to me and they're, 14, 15 years old. And it's just like, hey man, I got some money saved. Like, what do I need to do? And, they're getting jobs. I got young men who are, logging in, 25, 30 hours a week, right? Like they're on the weekends, they're going in, they're going all in. And that's the kind of spirit I want to encourage, because that's what we need. We need more useful tax-paying people out here. We don't need any more what I'm owed. It's a line I like to use a lot. It's like, not what can I get, but whom can I serve? And that's what I want to represent. Like, who can I serve? Who needs what I'm here to provide? Do I have a useful service that's needed in society? Not some, weird degree from some Ivy League college, which has no market value. I want to be able to have skills and services that are needed in the open market. And I want to be able to encourage others to do the same. And so that's sort of where my niche is growing into now. Like, I'm just like, hey, get off the fence. Let's go out there. Let's earn. Let's get some money in your pocket. Because my thing is, I try to get my teens to where some of those costs that their parents are taking care of, that they can take them off of their hands. Maybe you don't pay for all your school clothes, but maybe you pay for your shoes. Maybe you pay for, your school uniform. Maybe you pay for a few things here and there. Like, I want you sort of getting into grown man status even as a teenager, because life comes at you fast. You need to be ready, and you need to be earning as soon as possible, because again, the way the market is now, like, you got to get in the game, because there's no social safety net for you. Nobody's coming to save you. Are you going to be able to feed yourself? Period. So that's what drives me each day. What drives me each day is seeing youthful, productive adults, young adults. That's what drives me each day, to create more of them.
And you're 100% right with if they don't start learning how to earn at a younger age, by the time they hit 18, and a lot of parents are 18 and out. You're out at 18. We're done taking care of 18, and you hit 18 and you don't know how to earn yet. You're well behind that power curve at this point, and now you're on a steep climb against all those who are actually earning already. And it, like you said, there's no safety net for you there. You have to work, or you're going to have to either join the military or figure a way at that point. And sometimes if you weren't earning at that point and you want to join the military, it's not going to be a good idea either.
It's funny you say that. That's the options my father gave me. He said you're either going to go to college or you're going to go to the military, but you can't stay here. Pretty much, like, it's time to go. and I like the fact that, a lot of things happened in my life that sort of pushed me into the open market a little sooner. My birth parents had split around the age of 12, and then financially things got really dicey as I started high school. So I started working unofficially at 14, officially at the age of 15. I was already taking care of about a third of the expenses of the house, probably by the age of 16 or 17 years old. By the time I got to college, I was a full-fledged adult from an earning standpoint. Maybe not from the actual money that came in, but from quarterbacking multiple jobs and doing a budget for the house, my apartment or whatever. I was already on top of that. Like I was light years ahead of a lot of the guys I went to school with, and I'm better for it. I don't, my mom's like, you had to grow up so fast. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Like, you didn't fail. We life teaches us a lot of what we need to. And, I would encourage a lot of parents that, like, as things are going on in the lives of the home, bring the kids in on it. Like, let's talk about the current situation. Maybe, we're switching jobs, or maybe we need to move, or we're going into another career. So maybe there's going to be a lean 6 months where we got to scale back on the expenses and get everyone involved so they learn the realness of the struggle. Don't try to hide it from them. Like, let's put together, team, fill in last name here, and let's get something done. And so that's sort of the way I like to see things going with my young people. And, the few parents who ask for my opinion on occasions, that's the way I think it needs to be, because I think we've gotten into the coddling phase way too deep at this point in time. And now it's goodness, there's some guys who show up to me in their mid-20s, and I'm just like, all right, we need to go back to the full drawing board here. But we don't have time to mess around. It's like you're going to have to get a crash course starting, like, I don't know, now. So I want to be that resource, that mentor, that the person who can be relied upon to be able to help them get through these challenges called life. Like I said, especially with the young men, because they have to figure it out.
Definitely. My brother chimed in again. He said it needs to start the parents. Parents baby them too much today, so that they don't do anything. And I see it all the time. I'm sure you see it too with the young men you're grabbing now. Like you said, the ones in the 20s, they're getting coddled too much at this point, and you have to you got to take them down take them down a notch and then rebuild them. And that's where you come in and teaching your tenets of how you rebuild them. And speaking of which, what are the components you teach when you're actually out there mentoring young men and women?
Well, I like to use the formula now that I put in my new book, where we have like a discovery process where you're looking around. It's kind of like showing up on the scene, where a natural disaster just happened, and it's carnage everywhere. Like you think of like maybe overseas, like a war-torn type country, and it's just a bunch of mess out there, and it's sort of the aftermath. Like after the hurricane, after the flood, and you're looking in the house and saying, well, it's quite a mess. Some people's lives are like that. And so I like to go through like a 5-step process and being able to get them where they need to go, which is starting off with reflection. Like, oh, we got a mess here. Okay. Is there anything good here? Well, the good thing is we're still alive, which means we have an opportunity. And so you sort of unpack, because you can't pick a new path until you know where you've been, like how in the world did we get here? And so we start off with reflection. And then once we decided, like, okay, because the main thing, Rich, that I'm very, 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 very huge on personal responsibility and accountability. Like, I mean, you look in the mirror and you own everything. And there's always somebody who's like, well, you don't understand what that kid went through. You don't understand where they came from. And I care and I don't care at the same time. I care because I'm empathetic. I don't care is the fact that you still have in. So let's just say you have a 7-year-old who's mom's on crack and his dad's in jail. He didn't cause any of that, but he has to deal with the fallout of that. Right. And so that's where, I mean, obviously I don't deal with a lot of 7-year-olds in that situation, but I'm just talking about from the standpoint that person comes to me as a teenager. They got dealt a bad deal of cards from the jump, and they didn't cause it. You see an adult and they've, botched all this stuff. It's just like, all right, take responsibility for that. But even at a younger age, it's like you have to teach them how to take responsibility and look at the idea that, like, okay, I hate that you went through this, but we have to do something. If you want to do something, let's sit down and let's unpack this and see what's good there. And so you want to make sure and like look and reflect, because like I said, what you see in the mirror, you need to own all of it. The good, bad, the ugly, the disgusting, the mistakes, the adversities, my parents don't love me, somebody abandoned me, all that stuff, girlfriend broke up, all that stuff. You got to take all that stuff and throw it in one big pot of gumbo. It's all part of you, and deal with that. And then we have to decide. We have to decide, like, okay, it's a mess. We've made a lot of mistakes. Got a lot to deal with. So you need to decide, what's it going to be? Are we going to fight or flight? We're going to get in the game. We're going to make something happen. And so then we start deciding, okay, where we are. Because see, there's possible and there's probable. Like, what's possible? Is it possible for me to be an astronaut right now? Maybe. Is it probable? Heck no. Not a chance. Not a chance. So we bring in the possible and the probable and decide where we want to go. Because depending on where you are in your station in life, it decides where we want to go. Like, let's just say, you've been in a little bit of trouble and you want to go into welding, HVAC, whatever that is, or whatever you want to start a career, you want to write a book, start a family, whatever it is you want to do next. We look at that and we say, okay, this is what we decide. And of course, after that, we go into what's called the planning phase, which, that's when you're laying out a plan. It's like, okay, I want to do this. Okay, what's involved in it? Is there money involved in it? Is there training involved in it? Who's the experts in that field who we can, reach out to? Is there any opportunities in the city, town, state, or country I live in? All of those things are important. And of course, then after that, you go into action and, whether you're ready or not, it's time to get in the game. Every game plan you put together before you go into a football game is not going to work. So you got to be able to make adjustments on the fly, but you do have to get going. You do have to take the field of life and make some things happen. And of course, the last stage of that when it comes into coaching is to seek. And it means seek counsel, seek people in your life who can pour into you, seek people who can give you wisdom. I always say, you need a solid 3 people who are older than you to pour into you for the rest of your life. You want somebody who's maybe in the business field or the line of work you're into, like the master of that, and then, you go into it with humility and ask him questions, get the information needed to be able to do that. You want somebody who's sort of the elder statesman, like, kind of like the grandfather patriarch type, the man who just kind of has a little bit of wisdom about a lot of stuff. A lot of our grandfathers was like that. It's like, he wasn't an expert at anything, but he sure knew enough about a few things to just help you through life. And then I say you need somebody from a spiritual standpoint, whether it's a pastor, a deacon, a minister, somebody who can hold you accountable from a moral standpoint. And I think that's the part that's been lost a lot. Like, it's just like, people are kind of pulling away from that. And I mean, there's probably a number of different people who are listening to this. Some of them might be religious, some of them not. Some of them may be different forms of spirituality. That's fine. Whatever. Obviously, I know what I represent, and I'm not trying to force that onto anybody. But you do need a moral barometer in your life. Someone who says, like, this is probably not the right way to go about things. Somebody who's going to hold you accountable for doing and saying things that are just not good. It's going to cause harm to others from the standpoint of just being a dishonest person, agreeing to do something and just not coming through on it. And so a lot of my program has a lot to do with action, but a lot of it has to do with your mindset. And we have to purge out a lot of the nonsense we were taught from grade school all the way up through college, and even in the real world. The media is really good about convincing people about things that just aren't legitimate in the open market and in the free world. Like you're sitting there thinking, like, who thinks and talks like that outside of you, And so I like to try to like cut through all of that and be like, hey, you can listen to that if you want to, but here's how it works in the real world. Here's how it works in your community. Here's how it works in your courthouses and things of that nature. So I want to be able to give them all of those tools to go out there and fight the greatest battles, which is basically getting your mind in place and getting your actions in place to be able to go out and be a useful and beneficial person to our country and be able to do great and amazing things.
Awesome. Being productive members of society is what we need. And I think you're giving them the right focus, the right tools to do so. When you go out and get these groups of young men and women, do you have schedules in different areas, like different schools or different, parishes? Or do you just have the same group that you keep talking to and just rotate through the next group that comes up?
Well, obviously I get booked to speak at a number of different places, and we deal with that as it comes along. You know, typically if I speak at a school, I'll speak to the whole team, and then I'll have the coach pull the leaders out, your captains, and we have an intensive from there. And that's where you know, the cameras are still rolling, but the sleeves get rolled up, and the language changes dramatically. Not to the profane standpoint, but from the standpoint of like you're a leader of men. You don't get the option to just be like, oh yeah, it's just whatever. No, you can't be whatever. There's 79 other people following you. So you don't get those. You are the coach on the field, regardless of the sport. You're the coach on the field. People are looking to you for guidance. You don't get to just be like, oh, like, you know, just you're gonna lead your guys into a buzzsaw. But right now I'm working obviously at my church, Grace Woodlands here in the Woodlands, Texas. I work with the teen ministry there, so I do pour into them twice a week. I'm a leader and I serve on Wednesdays, and on Sundays I teach the Sunday school classes to the teenage group. Also working with the Boys and Girls Club at one of the counties down here. I teach them leadership courses. We focus on love, respect, and gratitude. That goes as low as K, 5 years old through fifth grade. Yeah, that was a big learning curve for me, because they said that, we want you to work with the elementary school too. And I was like, I don't do elementary school until I started doing elementary school. And then I realized, I can really lean in on that at that age, because if I can teach a 5-year-old, I can teach anyone. And so I've been with the Boys and Girls Club for a few years. And there's a couple of sports teams I'm working with here and there. And obviously I work with some small businesses. But when it comes to teens, it's usually on a case-by-case basis. When people book me to come speak in this venue, somebody will call and say, hey, I want you to work with my son. Here's some things. And, and the thing is like, whereas I used to obviously work a lot with athletes with my mental performance coaching, now it's the young adults. It's the ones who are debating whether they want to go to college or not. They want to go into the free market, or do they want to go to college? Or the ones who went to college and are like, now what? What am I supposed to be doing? And they're trying to figure that part of it out, because I think you maybe where you are, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of people with college degrees who just like, yeah, I'll just go to Starbucks or Best Buy. And there's nothing wrong with those jobs. Right. I'm just saying, if you spent $175,000 on a degree, I think it needs to be utilized. Yes. But a lot of them, go ahead.
I said yes.
But the problem is, there's a lot of them get degrees that are useless on the market. There's that. There's a lot of busted degrees out there. And I mean, you got to take responsibility for it at the end of the day. But like some of these college advising programs, man, they need to get called to the floor. Like, who's advising you to major in some of these people show up with these degrees? I'm like, you majored in what? That's a thing? Because I'm thinking in my mind, like, what are you hired to do with a degree like that? What skills are attached to this? And so I try to unpack some of that nonsense too. Like, what can you do tomorrow that's going to earn a check? And so that's a big part of it. But I love the groups I'm working with. Obviously, I'm expanding as as the book was recently published, and once it starts gaining some more traction, I think that I'll be in a position to start doing more, because I do really want to lean into the young adults. Let's say probably 17-ish. They're about 28 to 32. It's the sweet spot to be able to really pour into them, because again, not only I want to be the man when I was 17, I probably could have used someone when I was 24, 28, 31, and it's just different stages of life. And it took me till like my early 30s to realize, like, having a mentor, an accountability ally in my corner was so needed. Right. And you needed someone who, when life is happening, you can like lay it out to them and say, hey, am I looking at this in the right way? And I mean, even at the age I am now, I have people I call on. I'm like, hey, here's a scenario. I just want to make sure that like my moral barometer is in the right place with this. I feel like this is the right thing to do, but I need a perspective of someone, a few years younger and a few years older, and we can find a place in the middle, which is, two gentlemen I'm working with right now who are going to be part of my media team going forward. One of them is in his 50s and one's in his early 30s. And so them two get together. They have a certain set of skills and they pour into me, who's right there in the middle of both of them. So it works out really well. And I definitely rotate through a number of different groups, but some of them I do get multiple runs with some of them.
My brother again chimed in, and once you started talking about the college stuff, because he's a manager up in New Jersey, he said they because they have a degree, they think they are owed it above what the starting pay is at places just because they have a degree. No matter what that degree is in, it could be basket weaving or whatever they took it in, and then of course they expect to start at the top, and they don't know anything about the job. So,
and what your brother is saying is like, because the bottom line is this is how business works in the real world, not your ivory tower Ivy League elites who think they know what's going on in these streets and they have no clue. The skills you have, I'm going to pay you based on the ROI that your skills will bring to the company. Meaning, I pay you out of what your labor is worth, not a degree in liberal dance. Okay? That's not how this works. Okay? I don't care if you went to Brown, MIT, Yale, or Michigan or Harvard. I don't care. What can you do with this job? Can you provide a service to where your labor brings in this amount of business and I pay you out of the profits from that after paying expenses for the building? That is how e-com works, right? You show up here and you don't know anything about the job and you think just because of your degree, which is useless, by the way, because if you don't have skills that the market needs, you are useless in society. I know that's a very controversial thing to say, but the bottom line is what are you bringing to the table for a company to be able to utilize to make money? How valuable are you, right? There's a reason why you get paid one thing at McDonald's and you get paid another thing at IBM. Why? Because I can find X number of people, a large number of people who can do that, flipping burgers and dropping fries in the vat, as opposed to people who's an engineer at IBM. They get paid more because their labor is worth more on the market, not based on some piece of paper, but with no real life skills and abilities. So no, they don't deserve to start at the top. What did you put in on this company?
exactly. And
What did
like
you invest?
said, liberal dance ain't gonna get you there. So that was a good degree there. I haven't heard that one yet. So I know when I was growing up, you just see when they show college football, especially what's your major, basket weaving 101 or this and that. It was always some obscure degree they were going for. Or general studies was my favorite. I'm going for general studies. You're getting a free education taking general studies. That's just not the way to do it. But they did it, and then they had to go back and actually take classes that helped them out in the long run.
Well, that was my era. I was in college. I played college football in 98, 99 era when I played ball, and that was the thing. Everybody was going just leveraging the fact that they were going to go to the NFL.
Right.
And so you just, and our class is the one who screwed it up to where colleges made you finish 25% of a degree plan to be able to stay eligible in college. Because before it was just a whole bunch of electives. That's all you took is a bunch of electives and just you never worked towards anything. You just were in school to play ball. And like you said, there's a bunch of guys who did that and never ended up finishing school and didn't make it to the league. So they're my age and who knows what they have going on, but I know a lot of them just fell off. A lot of the top guys I played with back in the day, they completely it didn't work out for them. And that's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you don't properly plan and get some things done. But again, being useful adults is what we need more of, because there's enough coddling to where now guys are 23, 24 years old and just can't do basic things, right? Never had a bank account, never swept a floor, don't know how to wash dishes, don't know anything going on their car. I'm not saying you need to be a mechanic, but can you know the basics?
Can you change a tire?
Put air in the tire, change a tire, know know where to locate the noise in your car, where it's coming from, and take it to a mechanic and get it taken care of. You know, certain things on the inside, cleaning your car properly. Like, guys don't even know how to, you know, go to the little quick wash and, you know, vacuum their car up or whatever, man. I don't know about you, man. I could pay money to get that done all day. But sometimes that's a good stress reliever for me to just go to the car wash. I spend about an hour just vacuuming on the inside, shining my dash up sometimes. And I mean, typically I should be using that time otherwise, but sometimes I just need a release. I just need to just, you know, put me a podcast on and listen to it while I'm cleaning my ride up. And it's just a way for me to, you know, get away from the busyness of what all I have going on. Sometimes I just want to do, I don't want to say something normal because that sounds weird, but just to do something that I can feel something that I accomplished, but it doesn't take too much of my mental capacities to do it. Cause I need to disconnect sometimes, man. Like I just need to just kind of pull away and just have some time to where everything's not redlined all day.
Right. Yes, that's not a good way to operate anyway. So,
No.
Ahmard, we talked about a lot of stuff, and you're doing great things. If you can go back in time and talk to young Ahmard and give him 3 tips on how to be a successful young man going into the future, what would that be?
Whew. How much time do we have? No, I'm just playing. Well, the crazy thing is scaling it down to 3 things. I would say, oh man, I'm about to tell on myself. Embrace family and community much better. Embrace family and community much better. Lean in on that a little bit more. Keeping a good group, you know, being grateful for the family you have, you know, connecting with them a little bit more, which is obviously something I've done as I've gotten older, but I wish I would have embraced that probably in my teen years, maybe, to do things better. But a lot of times, you know, the looking back thing just sort of pushed me in a weird direction because obviously the way I handle things is what creates the man who's in front of you to be able to say what I'm saying now. But at the same time, I would say that would be one thing that I would say to do is to appreciate your loved ones, your family, and your those in your circle much more. 2, I would say be far better with money. When you got it, don't take on any debt. Debt's dumb unless you absolutely have to take it on. And really and truly, if you do like we used to do back in the day, you save up and then you go get it. Remember, back in the day, if you didn't have the money, you couldn't afford it.
That's right.
So that's how it was. And so I definitely would have done that better. And the third, I think, maybe been a little bit more attentive in school and not trying to be a dumb jock. Like I think I would have leaned in on that a little bit more, or just utilized what school had to offer for me better. I think that would have been something that I would have done. I mean, the list of what could have been, we could be here till my next birthday, and that's in November. We could be here that long. But yeah, I would say those 3 things are probably the things, and really just, you know, the whole honoring of your father and mother, just being a better son to my folks. I know that there's some days where they probably looked over at me and was just like, "You ungrateful little guy." So, you know, I think I would have spent a little bit better of a young man to them. But aside from that, man, I look back and I'm grateful for the life that I created, scars and all, you know, death, divorce, debt, taxes, all of that stuff. It is what it is. If you take any of the struggles I've went through in my life and my, you know, over 40 years, you may not see this man in this spot right here, right now. That you don't see. I may not be in this house. I may not even be in this city. I may not have the platform I may not be this adamant about working with teenagers. Who knows where I would have been? All of those things created the man who stands up in front of teenagers and says, let me go ahead and give you the game as if I'm your age, but I'm my age. Here's where things can go sideways. And let's lean in and make things better. And I'm grateful for the teens I work with, especially the ones over at the church. They are so far ahead of where I was at that time. Like there are many mornings when I wake up, I'm grateful for them from the standpoint that I'm leaning into they help me make sure I'm on top of my game more so that I can pour more in. I want to become more wiser to give them more of the game to be able to live a greater life than I could ever imagine, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
That's where I am.
That's outstanding. And that's great tips right there, and great wisdom at the end there. I like that right there. And the listeners, hopefully you're writing that down, taking those nuggets, and put them in your toolbox for future use. So, Ahmard, how can someone get in contact with you to either have you on their show, hire you, get you to come speak at their business or their team, and pump them up before they go to the big game?
Well, I would love that. It's ahmardvital.com, ahmardvital.com. That's the hub for everything. The booking information is there. My contact information is there. On all the social media platforms, it's just Ahmard Vital. There's no alias and different things like that. It's Ahmard Vital. I'm pretty easy to find in that regard. I'd love to hear from your audience as far as that's concerned. The website is probably going to be the best way. Also, info@ahmardvital.com. They can get with me that way. Also, for those of you who may have liked the 5 steps that I presented earlier, for your audience, for the Misfit Nation, go to booknowwhat.com. That's booknowwhat.com. You get a preview copy of my book. We'd love to have you as a customer to go out and purchase one. It's available on all the major book retailer platforms. But if you want to just go to check it out and see the layout and see some of the wisdom that is shared in there, that digital copy is available through my publisher. So definitely want to make that available to you. I think you just plug your email address in and boom, it's right there, sent to you immediately. Available to, coach and consult, and all of these different things are available. If there was something you heard tonight that resonates with you, or there's something that you wanted to discuss a little bit deeper, just reach out to me. I'm not really hard to find. I definitely want to be a servant, especially if you have some young people in your life who are struggling right now. That's a calling for me. That's not just like a business or a service. That's more of a calling in addition to providing a service with it as well. I feel like if we don't build a bridge to future generations, we have no future. That's where we are. And there's been a lot of things that have happened to where the future is compromised. And there's going to be a number of us who are going to stand in the gap and be like, hey, I'll build a bridge for you. I'm going to build a bridge for you because I want anyone who hears my voice, who's under the age of me, I want you to be 7 to 10 times more successful than I can ever become. And I plan on doing pretty doggone well in this life. But I want you to surpass me many times over. That's my goal. And so please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Just put the Misfit Nation in the subject line, and we'll start up a conversation, and let's make some moves. Let's do some major things. It's a good time, a good season to do that. Things seem like they're in shambles, but you know what? There's still lights. Definitely. There's still lights in the world, and I want to connect with some other lights. And let's go drown out the darkness that's amongst us.
Definitely awesome. My brother also chimed in. Great talk, great topic tonight. So you got him pumped up tonight. So that's awesome.
Yeah, reach out to me, Steven. I got you. One
thing he'd add is to teach that it's okay to screw up, but you need to learn from it, not just shut down. So if you fall down, get back up again.
Oh yeah. Let's throw some water on it, throw some alcohol on it. Yes. Just go ahead and pat it on out. It's gonna have a little gloss. It's gonna leave a mark. But this body is full of marks that I can almost remember every instant that happens. For like, I remember that. Like, there's a mark on me. There's literally a mark on me from when I was 8, and it's still there. Yeah, Dad got a hold of me. I deserved it.
All right, this has been great. Thank you again for taking some of your time and leaving sports behind for an hour to chat with me. It'll still be on when you turn back in the other room there. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the tournament and get out there and mentor more youth and make those kids North Texas or north of Houston, all of Houston, that really need that push up after the last 7 years or so since Harvey, and to really get out of their own way and become better people.
Absolutely. And thank you for giving me the platform to reach out to your people, because we do want this message to extend beyond the borders of Texas and get to as many places as possible. We're ready. We're ready to start making moves. We're ready to travel. You need us. Come get us. I stay 8 minutes from Bush Airport. Let's go.
Nice. All right. And you know that place is busy. All right, man. Thank you. Have a good night.
I appreciate it. You too, man.
Okay.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. It's themisfitnation.com to catch up on all of our episodes and also to get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Misfit Nation.